In order to get faster, interval training is a must. Probably the most difficult part of interval training is really comprehending what the plan says to do for the workout. So maybe the most helpful thing to do in this video is to kind of unpack what a sample interval workout might look like. So just some basics with interval training. You're typically going to start with some form of a warm-up, usually half a mile to 2 miles of easy running. And then you're going to follow that up with some strides just to get your legs used to turning over a little bit faster. And then you're going to follow that up with some form of repetition at a specified distance. So you may see 400-meter repeats, or you may see 800-meter repeats, or 1-mile repeats. And if you're running a marathon, sometimes you'll see 2 or even 3-mile repeats. But the basic premise is you do the interval at a specified pace, and then you have a specified amount of rest, and then you repeat that interval. So a simple interval workout that is standard in many training programs is 400-meter repeats. So for that workout, as you can see on the right, you would jog a mile or so to warm up, do some strides, and then you might run anywhere from 8 to 16 400s, which is one lap around the track at a specified pace. In this case, this workout is pretty fast at mile race pace. Typically, you won't go that fast for that long, but mile race pace with a 90-second jog break between each lap or between each rep. So you jog your 400 at mile race pace, and then you take 90 seconds to just slowly jog or sometimes even walk, get your heart rate down, and then you repeat the rep, 8 total times, and then you'll do a cool down at the end. What I like to make sure to do in interval workouts, again, we'll use the 8x400 workout, and let's say you're trying to run each 400 in 90 seconds. I like to start by running the first 2 400s at slower than goal pace, and then run the next quite a few at goal pace, and then run the last 2 or 3 under goal pace. But again, you're not going completely to the well. When doing an interval workout, one piece of advice that I've heard that I think is very helpful is you always want to feel like you could do one more interval at that pace. So you're never completely just going to the well at any point in an interval workout. These should feel very hard. You should be breathing hard. And yeah, the last few, you might get to that point where you do feel like your lungs and head are kind of about ready to explode. But at the same time, you know the feeling of when you're completely maxed out, and you should never feel like that. Most of the interval workouts are actually going to feel, if you stick with the prescribed paces, they're actually going to feel maybe a little bit easier than what you might expect at first. But stick with the plan, stick with the prescribed paces, and you'll start to see some noticeable results. One other thing about interval training that I've always found interesting, and other runners that I've coached have found interesting, is let's say you're doing a 5K, and you might do interval training where you do mile intervals. So 5K is 3.1 miles. So you might do an interval workout where you do 1 mile at 5K pace, jog for 2 minutes, do another mile at 5K pace, jog or rest for 2 minutes, and then do a final mile at 5K pace. And you might think, well, that's not really helping me for a race, because in a race, I'm not actually going to get to rest. But you'd be amazed by race day, whenever the adrenaline takes over, you're able to run those miles consecutively at the same pace that you can with rest in practice. But that's the whole point of running a race, is because you're going completely to the well in a race, whereas in practice or in training, you're not. So these are extremely important workouts, and it's also important that if you ever have questions about what the workout says, to make sure to ask.